now we're starting to see fiber lasers completely taking over CO2. Well, let me explain. And grab a drink of your coffee too.
Cheers.
Cheers. You got that in the cup. Perfect. All right, so when fiber lasers first came out, we saw the thin speeds already faster. However, the cut quality was not there, and especially as you moved up the thickness, it couldn't even compare to what CO2s were. On top of that, CO2 was already an established technology, and no one was willing to experiment yet, especially since the gains weren't so obvious on fibers. As technology moved on, fiber lasers started to become better with higher kilowatts, less maintenance, and more power. So what happened is that on thin materials, we were cutting faster just like before, but the thickness started to move up and the quality could be taken right off the machine. So they were satisfied with the quality of the parts.
Absolutely.
That's right. So when it came to CO2 in the mid to thick materials, however, fiber machines were still not quite there yet. It's only been very recently with new technologies such as like a zoom head or a beam mode change, which I'll get into more detail later, that you'll find that mid to thick materials, fiber lasers are now completely taking on the CO2 machines, especially when you consider the cost, right, Irina?
Absolutely, because after all, it all matters how much it costs you to make parts on your machine.
That's right. So today we're going to start with some steel parts right there. Do you mind
Yes,
demonstrating,
absolutely.
please?
We have prepared 3 showcases on the different materials, on the different parts, and we're going to be facing different challenges, and we're going to show you today how our machine can easily overcome them. The first part is a mild steel. If I'm not mistaken, it's
40 thou.
40 thou. The customer is making components for the electrical cabinets, and as you see on this part, there's many intricates, and to make this part it requires high speed, precision, and very accurate cutting. So take your seat comfortable. We're going to show you right now the actual cutting, and Andrew will proceed to the machining. Thank you.
This machine is equipped with a touchscreen control, as you can see here. It is easy to use and easy to select your programs. You have full control over laser parameters, and you even get a simulation of the program. This material is 20 gauge steel. We are cutting here with nitrogen because it is much faster than oxygen when using a fiber laser, as you can see here. This part features many features on the inside. This would take a long time on regular laser systems that don't have dual servo rack and pinion system such as this machine. You can also see that the outside geometry is quite complex, and because of the fast acceleration of the servos, we can cut this part much more efficiently. Despite all the cuts here, the laser height is perfectly controlled by the Precitech cutting head, giving us full stability across the entire sheet. see we have a slide door here. Very easy access to the machine here. So here's the part we just cut right here, mild steel, as Irina just showed you earlier. This is a freshly cut piece as well, if you want to take a look at it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and we probably can compare to the piece that we did before. So Andrew, did you use nitrogen or oxygen for this cutting?
I use nitrogen to cut this material specifically for the faster cutting speeds. And that's another advantage that fiber has. Normally on a CO2, you'd cut this with oxygen instead, which on top of that gives you an oxidized edge, which might hurt paint operations. So that's why we use nitrogen instead.
And welding too. The welding.
Correct. Welding is easier to do as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
So we're going to move on to the next case, and it's going to be stainless steel. It is a very interesting part. As you see, we have a protective film on this part. The customer is making industrial kitchens, and the challenges are, first of all, we need to cut through this film. Second, we need to be very, very accurate because secondary operations are not allowed. And the part will be proceed to bending. So requirements for the machine to be highly accurate and precise. And we're going to show you now how we can do it on our fiber laser.
Let's cut.
Thank you, Andrew.
The easy-to-use touchscreen interface allows us to switch to a different material very easily through the operator panel here. We also have an available nozzle changer to minimize setup that needs to be done from the operator's side. This material here specifically is 40 thou stainless steel with a film covering on top. The film covering is to protect the finish on the top side. We instead cut through the film here instead of burning the film away, as it is much more productive to do so. As you can see, we still maintain the cutting speeds from the laser beam here, despite there being a film covering on top. This is due to the high quality of the IPG resonator on this machine. This machine is equipped with a 2 kilowatt resonator, and higher kilowatt resonators would only be better and faster. The film covering here can actually create quite a mess on the nozzle, and it'll cause your cutting quality to reduce over the course of the sheet. So this machine is equipped with an automatic nozzle cleaning system as well to clean the nozzle after doing a few cuts. This again minimizes errors farther along the cutting process in this sheet. Through tightly controlled parameters allowed by our machine, we can minimize bubbling on the top surface that could otherwise ruin the cutting process. As you can see here, there's no significant bubbling, and we were able to cut through this sheet successfully in this case. If you ever need help cutting through film like you see here, please feel free to contact us at Access Machinery, and we can absolutely help you set up this the way you see it here.
And now when it's cutting done, we're going to see how the part turned out. Andrew, can you please show the part? Thank you. We have tried in the showroom so many times different kinds of materials with different films. Even though sometimes they are not designed for the fiber laser optics, we still manage to pierce. The cutting is not always going well, again, because the film is supposed to be for the fiber laser operations. Okay, so we have a part here.
As you can see, the film was cut with the material on it. No need to spend time vaporizing or wasting time with that. So we can cut with the film on so you get your perfect finish on it. And again, that's what kitchen materials are looking for. They can't have any scratches.
That's perfect. And the same is related to the manufacturers of the elevators. We were facing the same challenge, especially if part will be processed after for bending. So it has become an essential, again, precision cutting, and this is what we can achieve. Okay, I think we're a little bit running out of the time, so we're going to move to the next showcase, and it will be aluminum. The part that I have right now, it is actual part of the customer who is making medical equipment. And as we know, aluminum is one of the trickiest materials to cut on a fiber, simply because of this of its chemical composition. Aluminum is a milder material, so it's easier to pierce, but the challenge is always to get that smooth edge after cutting. And Andrew's going to show us how we can do it on our laser machine.
That's right. Let us cut the material. Default parameters on the machine can help you switch to a difficult to cut material such as aluminum and make it much easier to set up. Starting from a baseline is much more helpful, so using Durma's database here, we can switch this material much more easily and make adjustments from there. This material specifically is 50 thou aluminum 5052 grade. Aluminum was traditionally hard to cut for the CO2 lasers of the past, but with fiber laser technology, we can cut through this material much more easily with much higher quality. Not to mention the rapidly increased cutting feed rates here. Again, this machine's dual servo system allows it to quickly whip around the complex geometry you see around the parts, much like a race car stopping and starting around corners much more quickly. With the fiber laser here, we don't have to worry about reflection as much on aluminum as we would on a CO2 laser. This is much more tightly controlled because of the high beam quality and the complex monitoring systems that can detect if any feedback were to happen in that case, saving your machine from damage while cutting exotic materials such as aluminum. With those systems in mind, you can also cut brass and copper, the most complex types of materials to cut on a laser, with ease, as the system uses the same feedback to understand if there's any kind of reflection that could damage your system, and it'll cease cutting until the operator changes the parameters to be acceptable.
Well, next cutting is completed. We're going to see the part shortly. Andrew, please.
I wanted to talk briefly about aluminum as well. So when it came to CO2 lasers, there was a lot of struggle to cut aluminum because of its reflectivity. So that also caused the poor edge quality you usually get on aluminum parts. You also had to cut them very slowly. So this is a good example of where fiber lasers well exceeded what CO2 possibly could do. And these examples here have made the fiber laser more and more popular as we unlock more and more technologies from the fiber laser instead. So this part is much more cost effective to produce on a fiber laser than on a CO2 laser. Thank you.
Yep. And now, after we were able to show you 3 different materials, mild steel, stainless, and aluminum, we would like to talk a little bit more on our major components on the machine. And it is a cutting head that we would like to make accent on the Durma fiber lasers. We are using Press-Attack line of German maker of the cutting heads. On our laser machines, we have 3 ranges of available categories of the cutting head, depending on your operations. We start with the light gauge, light cutter cutting head with the focus 125, and it also comes with the autofocus. And then we move to the next level of the cutting heads, which is the golden standard of Press-Attack, and it is Pro Cutter. We particularly have on this machine Pro Cutter 150. And the latest development is a Press-Attack zoom head that we also are using with the and see lots of success from the customer's response. And Andrew, can you please talk about?
So with the zoom head specifically, there's more lenses inside, so the beam can be accurately controlled. So the beam actually gets widened and sharpened based on how the lenses move. The zoom head is just one of the few advancements now that we've had in fiber technology that's brought it way past what CO2 can do. So now that the zoom head can move it up and down, we have full control of the beam, and on top of that, there's no need for any different lenses. The lenses can be dynamically changed in the head with the lenses moving up and down. On top of that, we have resonator technology that can go all the way up to 10K. With the zoom head, you can process materials way up to 1 inch if you wanted to. So that opens up many possibilities for your fiber machine if required.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is that on a cutting head that is easily integrated in the laser machine, if you wanted to process different thicknesses of the materials and you require different optical focus for the piercing and the cutting, zoom head is exactly designed to do so.
Correct. The zoom head has many advantages over the main Pro Cutter head, and we highly recommend it for the high kilowatt systems, as it will provide advantages on all materials, across all materials, and that even includes the bevel angle on the sharp edges as well. So when you have welding on thick plate, things fit up much better. So the zoom head is the next advancement in technology that pairs nicely with our machines.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about operators, because operators are actual people who are using machine every day, and operators are 90% of the healthy and good condition of the machine. What is designed particularly on the Durma laser to help operators to do their task daily and run machines smoothly? Of course, it is a controller. On our machines, we are using Siemens controllers, and particularly on the HDFS model, that controller is integrated in the body of the machine, which makes operator comfortably standing next to the shuttle table and operating the machine. Andrew, can you give us please a couple of words about the interface and the controller?
Absolutely. So as you can see from here, this is a touch interface, so it's very easy to use. Everything is labeled on what you need to do. So if I need to do a laser shot to align the beam, for example, a very common daily operation, there's no complicated menu to go through. On the first screen, a few buttons later, you can get your shot out, put your piece of tape. Everybody knows centering, of course. And even with loading programs, you have all your laser parameters. So we have lots of control of what the laser can do, or you can just load the factory database to get cutting right away. But it gives you more flexibility if you want to cut even faster. That's right. And it's even easier still to see a simulation of the program. So you can see what you're cutting beforehand. I know it's hard to see right now, but the simulation screen is a nice, easy way to see what you're cutting. And on top of that, even when you stop the program in the middle of the program, all you have to do is press the start button again, and the machine will resume exactly where it was, making the machine very versatile and very easy to use for your operators.
Absolutely. That is right. After we covered cutting head, we covered our controller. It probably makes sense to say a little bit about our resonators.
That's right. So we use an IPG resonator. Again, I talked earlier about how we can go all the way up to 10K. This specifically is a 2K, of course. So when you're cutting thin materials, and if you're only exclusively cutting thin materials, the 2 kilowatt is fine. What you should know about the IPG resonator is that, again, a German component, so it's very high quality, very reliable. They've been in the industry a long time. They're actually one of the early manufacturers I was talking about with fiber technology that helped bring us to the point we're at now. So it's a very reliable component, and it has lots of support.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely.
And I think that right now, when we basically covered most major points, we can proceed to the questions and answers if we have so. Do we have any questions so far?
Yeah, we got a question here. Perfect.
Okay, let's see what we got here. We have a question on what size and power is available on this machine and what is the maximum thickness possible to cut. I'll take this one.
Perfect.
So again, this is HDFS model and it is available in 5x10 shuttle table. This is exclusively model for the 5x10 metal sheets, and that machine comes up to 6 kilowatt. However, we have next model that is called HDF. It's more for the industrial processing, and that machine comes in the sizes 5x10, 6x12, 6x18 and up. And also another very good point about Durma is that we can make custom size beds on your request. What is the maximum thickness it can cut on the 2 kilowatt machine power? It is a 1/2 inch mile steel, roughly. Right, and the next question, it got stuck, I don't see questions.
Next question.
Okay, yeah, I see it. I've seen on your website that you have a backloader, a laser machine. What other model do you have? As I mentioned, it's HDF. Yes, absolutely, you're more than welcome to discover it on our website. At the same time, you can contact us and we will gonna give you more detailed information on that. Absolutely, anytime. It's a backloader.
Good questions.
Yes.
I love them.
Do we offer financing? Yes, we do offer financing. We work along with the major banks. We work with the RBC. We also offer financing through the private brokers. So please inquire. We will make sure that we can find you best available interest rate. And the way the economy is looking right now, it looks like there will be no interest rates. So we're going to see on that. Is there any promotions available on the equipment right now? Yes, we currently have a great promotion. First of all, we have our stock machinery sale, and we also have our demo models that are available for immediate delivery and installation. And alongside, we have a great promotion on the entry-level laser, HDFO model. We actually didn't mention that machine today.
That's right, the HDFO. The HDFO model is actually the same thing you see here, minus the shuttle table. So instead of having, if you don't need this kind of automation, you just pull the table in and out and you just have your cutting on one table, significantly reducing the cost of the machine.
Yes, and we made a collaboration between a laser and a press brake. So we're currently offering 2 combos available. One of them is a 2 kilowatt, and it is paired with the 10 feet 135 tons press brake. And we also have 3 kilowatt entry-level laser paired with 175 tons press brake. Both of them are 10 feet. So please inquire. It's our general email address is info@accessmachinery.ca. So anytime, please. Our sales representatives will be glad to help you.
Perfect. Is there any more questions?
I don't see them on my tablet.
Then we must have done a good job answering.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
We did. And it's Saturday and it's a long
That's
weekend,
right.
so everybody can go and enjoy their weekend. And for the, I wanted to give you little sneak peek for the next weekend. We're going to be live streaming every Saturday at from 10 a.m. till 11 a.m. I hope next Saturday we'll start exactly at 10. And we are preparing very cool features for the next showing. We will be showcasing the same machine, but we're going to be doing different applications. So stay tuned.
That's right. And
Sign up.
Perfect. That's right. Thank you. Please sign up. We're going to show you more again. Oh, another question. Well, might as well take it.
Could you explain automatic loading? Yes, perfect question. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nowadays, when the machine is not going without only cutting, it also requires automation. And we have excellent fitting systems to fit particularly side loader and to fit back loader. So we have, depending on configuration of your floor shop, we can create for you automated solution how to load, unload your parts, and make lights out factory.
That's right.
So
lights out is getting more and more popular nowadays. So you could even have a tower system depending on your floor layout and depending on the machine model. It's a big thing that's becoming more and more advantageous to be able to run into the evening now. So you make a good point, Irina.
Yeah, absolutely. And our automation loaders, they are coming in 5, 10, and I know that right now we are even making them in 20 cassettes. So again, depending on your application and requirements for how many hours you want to run your machine, we can make a solution specifically working for you. Yeah, it's and one more thing that I wanted to add for the automation and loading systems, sometimes you're not required to have the full tower, so maybe you will need 4 or 5 pallets, and we have a solution for that as well. It's called M-Loader. It is available on our website, www.accessmachinery.ca. Please have a look, or you can go directly on the Durma website. All latest videos are available there as well.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
if there's is there any more questions? All right.
All right.
Again, thank you everybody for coming here and watching us on a Saturday.
Yeah.